Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Blue Collar Success Stories. Today, I'm here with Lew Bronstein with Bronstein Auction Co. and Revitalized Life Fitness. So, Lew, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having me on the show. This is exciting. I'm excited to be on one of your episodes and be able to share something that's very dear to my heart, and that has been, people starting entrepreneurially from labor. And that's what I find so much lacking in today's world, is people that are willing to actually physically get out there and work hard to build their dreams. So this is a huge passion of mine. Currently, I own an auction business. Post-COVID, we had to switch to a hybrid type of reality. We used to have the big old room, as you did, with people sitting in there and bidder cards and the whole staff and everything. And we couldn't do that anymore, so we had to shift gears into our new virtual world, which we didn't want to go to the ticking time clock eBay style of things, because we still believe in the community.
Yeah, and you want to still have that live auction
connection. Yeah, an auction's an auction. You got an auctioneer, you got a voice, you got action, you got real bidding. People know who they're bidding against, not a computer. So we pulled that off in 48 hours. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today, because that was more of a tech, modern type of thing. Going back, I was on my own at 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, literally, own apartment, everything. Had to pull some strings to even get somebody to rent to me.
At that point, you were in California, right?
No, I was in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York. And it was cold, it was miserable. Still worked for the family business, just could not live in the family house. It just long story, but divorce, etc. Went out on my own, tried to get in any schooling I still could, worked daytimes, loading trucks, unloading stuff, picking up estates, kind of like we do now, but in a different capacity. Did already pick up a microphone in auction, or was forced, should I say, which was a blessing in disguise from my dad. But then I realized all too quickly that you got to pay bills. Rent, heat, up there it was heat and gas and everything else, food, car insurance. And so I went to work nights for a cleaning company. And long story short on that, I'll tell you just a story that really set a tone for life. One night I was working with this guy overnight cleaning, and we were in a big building downtown Buffalo, and he kept going, "The police are downstairs." And I'm like, okay, whatever. He was kind of a rough kid. And I'm like, I didn't think much of it. I get a phone call the next day, and the owner of the company says to me, she goes, "You're suspended. A ring was stolen last night." And I'm like, my God, this guy set me up. And, and I'm like, I'm trying to work so hard to make a living, and now I'm out of my second job. That made the difference if I ate or not. The other stuff paid the bills. That was eat money. Well, it turns out the lady realized she forgot her ring, came in, picked up her ring. Neither one of us knew she was there because it was a big office. But after a grand apology and everything else, I realized how quickly, this day-to-day dollar for hour can be pulled out from under you, even if you don't do anything wrong. When somebody else is in charge of you, you're either held back or supported by them, as in some cases. But I was not supported in that instance. And I gave the other guy credit. I was like, well, you know what? At least he didn't set me up. He didn't do something and blame me. He really thought that's what happened. But I realized how dangerous that, I'm going to work X amount of hours and this is the maximum I can make. So I bought a little truck and started doing hauling, because where the neighborhood I lived in, people were moving all the time and they always wanted help. So I started making extra money helping people move, because I was like, well, I do this anyway. Again, that was putting in labor, but not just dollars for hours. It was amazing to me at the time, and I'm probably dating myself on this, I was making less than a couple $100 a week with the 40-hour week
Could
job.
you imagine having a couple $100 a week income in today's world?
Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, no. So, but, my point that was I could do one moving job that took me 3 hours and pay another guy to help me and make as much as I made all week. And I was all excited. And it got something going in me. And then I got out of the family business when I was 18. Again, family dynamic didn't work. Love your family, work with your peers that you choose. That's, if there's some advice I can give you all out there is, you always love your family, but that doesn't mean you have to work together, put it that way. So went off on my own, got a business partner, things were great, got married, got divorced, disagreed with the business partner, and I said, you know what, I've always wanted to live in Florida. So I packed my stuff up and came here. Wanted out of the auction business for a while. It's all I knew. Growing up, it was like, and I didn't see a beautiful side of it because of that family dynamic. I saw more of a stressful, argumentative. Lasted about 2 years away from the auction business. Got back in the auction business. And best thing I ever did. And then I got fat. And, if you're out there and you weigh more than you should, I'm not being judgmental. You might look at me and go, it's easy for you to say no. I was 50-something pounds heavier. And
so that's where the health nut in
that's where the health nut came from. That's where the gym was born.
Really?
Yeah, I was at a Tony Robbins event in 2004, and I was facing some BS from the doctor that I'd have to go on medications for what being overweight was doing to my body, and I was way too young for that. So I said, I'm going to this seminar. I'm going to learn all I can. I made massive change. Then the light bulb came on. If I could do it, I didn't believe I could. My family was heavy, and they didn't eat well and stuff like that. So I thought that was just my destiny. Woke me up to, again, put in the work, the effort, the labor, get a trainer, work out really hard, really change the dietary and that. But I went from like 225 to now I weigh 172. Went that big of a change, but again, it was the work. It was that work ethic that I believe everybody should do some labor work as they're coming up in life, because it was that work ethic of, okay, I'm going to dig in and do whatever I have to do. I might not know it all yet, but you can learn it after. You can learn it during, but you can sit and please, people with high educations, don't take this wrong. You can sit in school for 6 years learning a skill and never get your hands practicing that skill. And I mean, you might be going out to be a surgeon. And you might say, I'm not going to go out and swing hammers and stuff. If I break my hand, I'm done. I get it. But if you don't practice your skill and you don't live that skill, you can be the smartest guy living under the bridge, or you can be somebody who doesn't have super mind power initially and learn as you go and become excellent at whatever trade you do.
Yeah, that's kind of like when I was in school down in South Florida, the instructor down there told us, fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And it's one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever personally gotten, because it's how we live our life almost every day until
and that's kind of a ambiguity, the way they say that, fake it till you make it. It makes you feel like maybe you have that imposter syndrome, like I'm not really supposed to be doing this, or I'm not really good enough, instead of going, I'm going to push till I make it. I'm going to learn and grow till I make it, because nobody's born, nobody comes out, pops out of the womb and goes, I can do brain surgery. There's a lot that goes into that.
Absolutely.
Same thing with, and people think, well, okay, the brain surgeon's so smart and the mechanic guy's not so smart. Until you've been under the hood of a car and ripped a motor apart, let me tell you, it's brain surgery. You just don't have as much risk of the car dying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's that same level of skill and planning and learning as you go. And that's where I think it's so important. And I'm excited that, you're doing this show, because it is so kin to me to know that, people still respect work and putting in the effort, whatever it is. And again, if you're studying brain surgery out there, I understand that you might not want to risk injury by going out and learning to build houses. But no matter what you're doing, if you can't change your own tire, it could cost you your life.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it only
it sounds
takes one
silly.
flat tire on the side of I-4.
Yeah, and you could lose your life if you can't change that tire and get back on the road very quickly. If you cannot fix a broken pipe, it could destroy your whole house. If you don't even know where your shutoff valve is to your water in your house, or if you have gas like we do and you have a gas leak, and you don't even know how to shut the valve off, the emergency switch, you're going to blow up.
Yeah. You might not even know that there is a gas leak if you don't know what the gases smell like or anything, any of the warning signs.
So it really is, no matter where you were born in this world, whether you were born in major privilege money in Hollywood somewhere, or whether you were born in the South Bronx and didn't have, you were born on a burned out warehouse floor to a crackhead mother like, what's his name? Les Brown. Look at him now. He's up in front of millions of people speaking and has touched millions of lives. And there was somebody who was born with brain damage because of his mother's drug use, told in school he couldn't learn, told he may as well go try to learn a trade, which he did, but then he decided that there was more. And that was inspiring to me because I'm going, okay, I had it kind of rough here and there, but nothing in comparison with that. And you see success story after success story, but to me it all comes back down to one basic tool, and that is not being afraid to do the work that is necessary. And if that means you get your hands dirty, I don't care if you own a huge company and a toilet overflows in the bathroom and the janitor's off that day, you don't just let that stuff float down your hallways and go, I'm too good for that. That's your business. And you and I both have done things in our businesses that we don't want to do.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely times that we're like, can't we wait till Monday?
Yeah. And hours we don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
How many, you remember how many nights of unloading trucks after the auctions and stuff that we all do? Yeah. And, but it pays off because now, not only do we put in the effort, but we've learned systems as we put in the effort and go, I'm not doing it that way anymore. Unless something happens that we have to.
And not only that, but we've put in the work and we've built our companies, we've built our equipment and the resources that we have to be able to get the jobs done easier, faster, smarter.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned resources. That's half the equation. And that's where I think what separates entrepreneurs like us from people who don't take the step. And not everybody has resources. Neither you or I started with resources in our corner, but we did have resourcefulness. We came up with ways until we could afford to get those extra resources to get the job done. And we didn't just say, oh, but that's not possible. We made it possible. And then by making it possible, we learned to get the resources that make it easier.
Absolutely.
And then it gets easier, but then you grow and then you go through those stages again, but it's your problems don't go away.
No, they get bigger and they get harder.
They get bigger, harder, but more rewarding.
Absolutely.
When you fix them. And
So being their own entrepreneur, and you kind of touched bases on this a little bit earlier, is everybody prefers the job in the aspect of they know how much money they have coming in. They know when it's coming in. They know everything about that paycheck. Where to people like us, we get paid when the job is done. Whether if we do 5 jobs today or no jobs today, we get paid when each job is done. What advice would you give them to be able to help cope with that?
Understanding that one of the things that is so important to them is certainty. They're certain, and that, we want to be certain. If we weren't certain that the ceiling was safe, we wouldn't be focused on talking to you guys out there. We'd be like, hey, is the ceiling collapsing?
So we'd be getting out of here.
Yeah, a certain amount of certainty is good, but certainty can be like literally a prison. Okay, I'm going to get this paycheck, or I'm going to get 3 meals a day and a bed and a pillow. If you're lucky, if Bubba doesn't kick you off the cot and make you sleep on the floor. But if you want security all the time and certainty, go to prison. You're certain you're going to eat 3 times a day. You're certain where you're going to sleep that night. So certainty can be the biggest prison and enemy of entrepreneurship. So, if you're certain you're going to make it succeed, and that's what's driving you, that's a good certainty. But if you're too attached to that paycheck, or I like working 8 to 5 and coming home and cracking a beer and watching 7 episodes of something on Netflix. That's not going to get you to your goals. That's not going to get you to be an entrepreneur. If you look, I think entrepreneurs look at two aspects of life more, and that's growth, number one. If we're growing, we're happy. Doesn't matter if we're there yet, as long as we're on our journey. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And then the ability to contribute. The ability to contribute is even the next level. To know that, God forbid, something happens to somebody in your family, you can step in and help out. Making sure your children don't get entitled lifestyles, but that they don't have some of the struggles that you had, but that you make them have enough struggles that it's not easy on them either, because then you see that other syndrome we're talking about, the Hollywood stars kid that's on drugs and living under a bridge. They were given everything. The ability to, I think it comes down to being an entrepreneur gives you the ability to be in control, not as in a control freak, but you don't have somebody else controlling you. You're in control, even if it means you got to put in 20 extra hours in a week. You're still in control of that, which gives you that base level. And those folks of you out there listening right now that are worried about giving up a paycheck or that control over your life gives you that certainty that you so much have from that paycheck right now. That gives you that certainty that's well beyond that certainty that you got a $300 or $500 or $1,000 paycheck, whatever it is you have coming in. It's all the same, but when you get to that point where you're in control of it, you get your certainty back. In between there's a lot of variety and uncertainty and a lot of scary weeks and celebratory weeks. But I can say, if you're truly an entrepreneur, it's worth it. And if you're not, or you don't want to choose that everything falls on you, you can be an entrepreneur in your workplace. You can grow within a workplace by bringing more value than anybody else. Entrepreneur, considering it, the greatest part of it is it's such a learning experience. You're gonna get this education that you can't get in any book or any school. Not that I'm against education. I highly recommend learning as much as you can. But you are going to get an education that you can't even begin, you couldn't get at Harvard if you go into business for yourself.
So I think the last thing that we're going to end it here on is, if you had the one biggest piece of advice to give anybody that is looking to start being their own entrepreneur or opening their own business or anything like that, what is the number one biggest thing you would tell them?
Okay, number one question I would tell them to ask themselves is, why do I want this? If you find a driving why you want to do something, the rest of it, like you said, you if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life, which you do work, but you just enjoy it so much. If you know why you want to do this, why you're going to do your business, and what your outcome, the reasons you're doing it, that'll take you through any stress, any financial hardships, any late nights, any of that, if you know why you're doing it. And if it's just, I want to make some bucks, guys, that's not enough. You got to attach something that you live it. You live that business. That's part of you. It's like parents out there. You got a child? Well, when you have a business, you're going to have another child. So that's my biggest piece of advice. When you start a business, you better have the same commitment to that business if you want it to succeed as you would to your child. You wouldn't forget to feed your child. You wouldn't forget to change the diaper. You would not forget to pick them up from school, at least hopefully not routinely.
Well, this is 2022.
Yeah, true. And even more important now is that aspect of put's the effort. There's no post something online and make it and they come. Here's the real answer to your question. Going into business, innovation and marketing has become a top priority. The field of dreams, build it and they will come, isn't going to happen. You'll build it, it'll be beautiful, and you'll be looking at it all by yourself. The business models have transformed so much that if you don't exist on their phone, if you're not in somebody's line of view every single day, your customer, not my customer, not his customer, your particular customer, if they don't see you every day and you're not delivering value to them, you're out. We've helped each other out with things. We've helped each other with ideas. We've stepped up when, one or the other, needed a hand with something. That's the other side of it too, is that it is okay to build a team around what you're doing. Just know what you're doing so that you can share it with your team.
All right. Well, this has been the first episode of Blue Collar Success Stories. Please like and subscribe. Comment if you want more. And hopefully I will be seeing y'all in a couple weeks with another guest star. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And thank you, Lew,
Aaron.
for
Definitely a pleasure.
Coming on the show
brother.
today.
Definitely.